Hey guys, I have some baking to do today. I'm gonna make my gluten-free banana bread, which is amazing and doesn't taste gluten-free, and honestly, I like it better than the gluten alternative. So I'm going to be baking that today, and I thought I would take you along. And then also, Jared planted like a ton of basil for me this spring, and I think I need to trim it back and dehydrate it. So I thought I'd also just film that at the same time. So yeah, today's kind of like a bake with me, in the kitchen with me kind of video, which I've never done before. So we'll see how this goes. So when it comes to harvesting basil, it took me forever to figure out how to do this because I finally just looked it up. I grow basil really well. So when you harvest it, you just find a piece, and I like to take it down to pretty much the bottom, as far as I can go, with still leaving some leaves. So you can tell there's some new growth coming here. So I'm just gonna trim it down to right above that. And then I'll be using this in my dehydrator. So I'm just gonna go and trim off a bunch of these. So I think I've trimmed it as much as I'm going to here. A bunch of them don't quite have new growth coming at the bottom of the leaves, but I can see they have some growth coming there. So I'll let them grow a little bit taller before trimming those ones. But I harvested quite a bit of basil here. So I have just actually like a really cheap dehydrator. I bought it last year for my birthday, and I think it has like right around $100. I'll leave a link below. So it has, I think, 6 levels, which have fairly big slots. It also comes with like a herb, like a finer mesh piece that can go on here. I'm going to use this piece for some of the smaller leaves, but with basil, their leaves are big enough that this will be fine. So I will put the big leaves on here in the trays, and then the top will have the mesh strainer, or like the finer mesh with the small leaves. So I've got my basil in here, and I'm going to do this on the lowest setting. So for this one, it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And it says anywhere between 6 and 12 plus hours. And I don't remember, it's been a number of months since I did basil, so I don't remember how long it took. So I'm going to check. It's about 10:30 right now, and I'll see when it's done. The dehydrator does kind of like have like a low, you know, like a fan noise all day, which bothers me if I listen to it all day. So I am going to actually put it in the toddler's room, and it will kind of like help as a white noise machine when he's napping too. So that way I don't have to listen to it. Okay, now it's time for the gluten-free bread. I have the full recipe over on my blog, but I'll kind of try to put it up here as well. But if you want to print it out or whatever, go ahead, go to my blog and print that out. This recipe is amazing. A few things I want to point out. The all-purpose flour that I use is actually a blend that we just get from Superstore. This, I think they've changed their recipe over the years, because I'm sure it used to be white rice based, and now it's actually mostly starch based. Here's their ingredient list right here. But we also have an old, there's my oven singing its song, telling me it's ready. I used to make an all-purpose flour based on a number of different flours. We used white rice flour, brown rice flour, and I mixed it all myself. But then I wasn't sure if the flours that we were using, because we were getting them from the bulk barn, if they would be like actually gluten-free, because they also do have, you know, gluten flour there, so I wasn't sure about the contamination factor. So since then, we've just been buying all-purpose flour, and I actually really like this one. I can't believe that it's mostly starch-based, because as they've changed the recipe over the years, it's actually gotten a lot better. So I've been really liking that, and yeah, so I'll just get started here with the recipe. And because we try to limit our dairy, we use a vegan margarine, and I'm going to be using cashew milk. Almond milk also works, and I'm assuming other dairy milks, or non-dairy as well as dairy, would probably work, but I've only ever tried cashew and almond. So this season actually marks about 7 years now since Jared was diagnosed with celiac, and we've been kind of on this gluten-free journey. We do mostly eat gluten-free in our house as a family. I try not to let gluten come into the house because I find it stresses me out trying to make sure we don't accidentally contaminate him. So when we're at home, at least, me and the kids, we eat gluten-free, even though he is the only one that really has to. Gluten-free food, baking, has gotten so much better in the last 7 years, but there are still some things that are a struggle. Bread, getting better, but like still not great. Just this week, after spending weeks of looking for different sourdough starter recipes, I started a sourdough starter, and it was looking really good. Yesterday was the 4th day, I think. It was looking really good, and then today I woke up to it being like having a moldy fuzz on top. So that's disappointing, and it's not like you're just gluten baking where you can start a new sourdough starter for like 30 cents. This is probably, you know, like $5 worth of flour, and so it's not something I want to experiment with a ton. Now I do know that my flour, apparently this is when I actually looked at the ingredient list, is when I realized, wow, it's like full of starches. Probably not the best starter to start with, or the flour to make your starter with. But I don't know if I want to go out, buy new flour, and try it. Yeah, I loved baking bread when it was gluten bread, but gluten-free bread is just, it's not as fun to play around with because so often it doesn't turn out. Yeah, so I will wait for my banana bread to be finished here, which turns out amazing. Hopefully it actually does today, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. So I have my banana bread. I let it cool off and then cut it, and then I microwaved it so it's warm again. The bottom is like slightly tougher. The top is amazing and is light and fluffy. I don't know if you can see, like, I don't know, it's not dense like banana bread or like gluten-free bread usually is. It is a little more crumbly like happens with gluten-free stuff, but it is so delicious. So the basil's been going for probably about 9 hours now, 10 hours, I'm not even sure. And the top is looking like the little stuff is almost done. But if you peek in to the bigger leaves, they're like not nearly done. So I'm gonna try to keep the heat in there. And I'm just gonna keep it going, and I'll update on this, or just put on the screen here how long it actually took. I forgot that I think it does take close to 24 hours, so yeah, I'll just get it going, run it most of the night I think, and let you know how it goes. Hope you enjoyed the bake with me day. Now I'm gonna go have some banana bread